Last week, I showed you all the different ways on how you can make your own video without even having your own computer. In that time, I realized that's kind of a pain. So, with some money I had lying around in my bank account, I bought all the stuff to make my own computer. And so now, let's make that computer. Do, 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 do. So as always, the first step when you're making something is safety. So for me, when I'm aware that I have very greasy, gross, oily hands because I'm a disgusting human being, so I have these gloves. And these gloves will help prevent any oils or anything from my hands getting on any of the pieces, as well as preventing any other damage that might happen. Also, because it's going to get staticky and all that stuff can harm, one, your computer, but more importantly, yourself. So I have an anti-static band connected to my power supply, which is plugged in, and then connected to my ankle to make sure I don't get any static on me, and I am fully grounded in case anything actually happens, and so I don't die. What do you think about dying?
Not good. It's very not good.
So here is a bunch of the stuff I purchased to put in said PC, and here's my case. It is a Corsair Origin something or another. I don't know the exact make and model, because, funny story, I found this case in the dumpster like 3 years ago. And so, to save money by making your PC, find stuff in dumpsters and try to make the best out of it. First things first, the motherboard. This is an Aorus X570 Pro Wi-Fi, which has Wi-Fi 6 built in, so I technically don't have to plug this in order to get internet. Cool. Let's open it up. Instructions. Motherboard. Get a good look at all that packaging. Ooh, so much plastic that I really hope is recyclable. Ooh. Inside the box is the motherboard itself, as well as all of these little doodads. So we have a disk with a bunch of different drivers and stuff. My PC won't have a disk drive, so this is useless. Screws, I'm sure that will be important. Different cables, that will be important. Here is the Wi-Fi 6 antenna, that will be very important, as well as instructions in various different languages on how to install stuff inside this, as well as a cute little sticker. Aorus. Squaw! Once you pull this stuff off, it sounds great. Oh, so there's one. Next. Not the most pleasant sounding, but alright. And here's the last one. Oh, looks like it's sticking to me a bit. That's static. It's a good thing I'm grounded. Now, examining for any more. Oh, there's a little bit right there. Alright. Now the whole motherboard should be clear of any additional plastic. And now we can get to construction. For my CPU on this thing, I decided to go with an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X to get all that performance that I need without spending too much money on negligible performance upgrades that I don't need. Although this would be cool with like a Threadripper or something, but those are expensive and I don't have that kind of money. Oh shit, I almost dropped it. No, don't fall. I was a little too afraid to record the process of getting this on, but my chip is now in place. In order to get it up, here is a little retention arm that goes out and up in order to get this fully on the place and then just sort of rest it on there on all the different pieces. There's a little triangle there, which lines up with the triangle on the bottom of this to make sure that everything is in the right place. For my build, I went with the Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4 with 32 gigs of RAM and a 300. No, that's not what it is. Let me zoom in again and retry that. This is just some DDR4 RAM. There's 2 sticks of 16 gig, and so it's gonna get me that fast transfer speeds and be able to run things nice and quickly. All right, both of my RAM sticks have been put into place. As a little example for how it would look like otherwise, these little tabs here, these get pulled back, and then once these are put in place, once you push them in nice and hard, then these will pop right back into place, and then you have some usable RAM. So part of this adventure now for SSD has me installing this Samsung NVMe M.2 500 gigabyte drive in order to get the fastest SSD it can get that's also nice and small. So part of that involved me lifting this part up right here and then tucking it in right underneath there. It was a little difficult to get in there, but you know, I managed to do it. And now we're gonna screw this right back in. I'm gonna act super gently, and then we're just gonna screw this in slowly until things stop, so it's not too tight and it fits in. Oh, still a little loose, so let's get a little more pressure in order to get it nice and closed in. So this part was stressful, so I didn't really film much of it. So this is the cooler. This is the AMD Wraith cooler that came with the CPU card. It doesn't have really a standard mounting system, so in order to get it on, there was this clasp. So that clasp, and in there, attached to those 2 points on either end of the mounting area, and those were put directly on top of the CPU. This already had a little bit of thermal compound applied to the bottom of it, so it stuck right on once I put it on. And after a little bit of screwing, unscrewing, this tilts from one side all the way over to the other, and then we have a cooler. So we had to snag my PC, or at least the motherboard, came with 2 screws, and only 2 screws in order to secure it. I don't know if it's just my first time about this or whatnot, but I think it should come with more than 2 screws.
Screws, I'm sure that will be important.
I don't know, because I've never done this before, but I think there's a way I can secure it with just 2 screws, and then my PC will just be living dangerously. And we'll see if things work out. All right, to the next step. So now that the motherboard is in place, and this ridiculously bright light is also in place, now I can start managing all the different cables and plug them in where they need to go. Look at all those slots. Time to start plugging stuff in. More hassle, the hard drive. So this thing is a 4 terabyte drive by Seagate. I wasn't totally sure how to get it in here, but after fiddling around with the mechanism here, this little part here just comes right out and pops right into place where the screws are on the inside of this thing, and then all of it just stays perfectly still. All right, so now all of the important stuff that couldn't be running from the case itself is now fully plugged into the motherboard, and ideally correctly, so that we have no issues with anything on the case running, like the power button. Now here's the fun part. I can't actually see where my SATA drive needs to go in this thing. So you're gonna come along with for the adventure. Let's tuck this down here. And need to focus right there to see how that plugs in. Hello there. Alright, so let's... Oh, this is super blown out. Alright, come on. Oh, I might have my cable in the wrong orientation. That could be an issue. So, let's put this right over here. And let's see if this clicks in right up. Definitely is not. We're gonna need to take a little break. The issue has been solved. My motherboard and my case does not have the space for me to put the original SATA cable I was using, which had a 90-degree connector, and so I needed to switch to one that has a straight connector on it. And now let's put it inside of the motherboard, get it all connected, and then we can move on to the next step. Do-boop-a-doo. And get you a good peek down there. And it, come on. Anytime you were working earlier. We'll be right back. The next step is getting in the power supply. And look, there it is. This is a Corsair CX550M that's only pulling 550 watts because I know that this thing isn't going to be drawing as much power as as it could. So this thing is actually a pretty lightweight build, sitting at around 450 watts. So we have about 100 left to maybe add in some more RGB elements in the future. So now that everything is nice and wired up and the power supply is in place, it's time to bring in the most fun part of this PC build. And that most fun part is the AMD Radeon RX 5700 XT. And oh my god, this is a beautiful box. And now let's open it up and put it in place. I should have all the right cables all adjusted on the power supply, so hopefully we can get this all wired in and it will work. Alright, now that the graphics card has been plugged into place with all the different power cables, now it's just up to some cable management before I put everything back on, and then we'll see if this thing runs. And if it doesn't, well then everything's gonna get a lot more chaotic from there.
Later that same evening.
So it's been a few hours since my last update, and that's because this shit got way more stressful than I thought it was. I started this project at around 3:30 this afternoon, and it is currently 11:27. So my entire day was spent trying to fix this and build this. I had to take a couple breaks at some point because my spine just started killing me. Because I spent like 6 hours hunched over this computer. And so I missed over a couple steps because some stuff went wrong. I was trying to place my video card onto the specific place where it's supposed to go, and in the process of doing that, it just would not fit. And in that case, I found out that I didn't have the proper screws, and I wasn't screwing in the right places to keep my motherboard in place, and the screws popped off.
Screws, I'm sure that will be important.
So that's a bit of an issue. Like, the motherboard's supposed to stay in place. And so it took a few hours of toying around with stuff, as well as getting the mounts and the screws in the right place. And now that everything is hopefully done, I think we have a completed project. Here we go. So here's the complete PC. I'm leaving the plastic on for right now. Some people are gonna hate that. I'm leaving it on right now just for safety purposes in case literally anything happens, because who knows at this point. I am incredibly afraid. Right now, I'm just going off of HDMI and it is plugged in to my tiny Samsung TV over there because I'm just trying to see if this thing posts. And if it does, then that means we have a functioning PC and I finally managed to put this thing together. Before we get into the full posting, see that the TV's all set up over there. Let's go over the peripherals I have because I needed to get these all plugged in before I can power it on. So here is my Corsair mouse. I think it's called the Iron Hand or something, but it is super responsive, but it is meant for players with bigger hands. My hand's actually pretty big, and so this fits remarkably comfortably. There are 5 customizable buttons, and it's great. To go along with it, a Corsair keyboard. So this one is using Cherry MX Red switches. Ooh. Listen to that clack. And then once this is plugged in to this computer and everything's powered on, then we can get the full RGB settings going. Right now, I had it on my other laptop where if you press one of these, then it starts to glow in pretty colors. And it's real great. And I love the tactile sound and the feel of everything clicking. And now let's get on to the actual posting. All right, so here's the moment of truth. We're gonna power this thing on right over here. Let's get a good angle. Power switch is right here. Oh, I saw a little flash. That means we have at least some power coming through. And now let's press the power button up top. It lives. Things are spinning, there are colors. Stuff is happening. Hopefully. Now, gonna mash keys. We are not posting. Oh, because I'm going through the memory card or the video card. That's why. Let's plug into another port. All right, we are trying this again. Trying to see if I can initiate the BIOS. And it doesn't look like that's happening. Okay. Time for some more troubleshooting. So I miss recording my excited laughter, but oh my God, we did it. We have posted. That is a screen that says something happened. Oh, the mouse is responding. I'm gonna press OK. And we have a functioning PC. Oh my God. Oh, I'm excited. This is literally my whole day. And we have a functioning PC. The thing works. All right, now I'm gonna play around with the BIOS to make sure that everything's up and working, and then, well, we'll see what happens from there. And then I can start editing on it. Cool.